England versus Australia, Women's Hockey World League Final 2013. A notational analysis of the English first half by Heidi Oliver. So manual versus electronic notational analysis methods. When analysing a sports performance, data can be gathered manually or electronically. The method used will depend upon resources and equipment available to the analyst, as well as the experience of the individual actually doing the analysing. Time is also a factor. A coach, for example, may be able to devise an analysis sheet quickly during a game and use it immediately in order to demonstrate an issue or diagnose a problem within the team. So if, for example, a football coach realises that his strikers are not passing enough, he may decide to whip up a quick analysis sheet to collect some data in order to present them with and show them the issue. Electronic analysis, though, has the potential to provide much more accurate and reliable data split into subcategories. This can be useful for higher level teams, as well as lower level teams, but especially people with dedicated analysts on the team. Manual analysis. So manual collection of data is gathered on a table, usually live at the pitch side. The main advantages of manual analysis are the cost and setup effort. A generic pre-prepared analysis sheet can be used multiple times just by photocopying it, and there is little to no cost to the analyst. It's just a pen, a piece of paper, maybe a couple of photocopies. It's very cheap. Almost anyone can perform a manual analysis with just a basic understanding of the sport they're watching and a pen and a bit of paper. The sheet can be tailored to assess a specific performer, skill or weakness, and data can be collected quickly and easily. So an analyst or a coach can decide to just analyse the strikers, the defenders, the midfielders, even in something like netball, even just a goal attack, performance statistics, or a particular player within the team. There are, however, disadvantages to this system. Accuracy is a problem, as skills can often be missed because of the time taken to record previous data when writing by hand. Also, graphs plotted by hand are always less accurate than electronically produced graphs. Information collected manually is usually plotted electronically anyway afterwards, so sometimes the time taken to do the manual analysis is effectively wasted. Not always the case. Electronic analysis. With programs such as Dartfish, Sportscode or Longer Match, Dartfish is the one used for this analysis. They're a much more sophisticated format with which to analyse a sports performance. The data which can be collected from this type of analysis is very accurate and can provide a greater depth of detail than manual analysis due to the option to subcategorise a particular skill or technique. For example, where in a manual analysis a pass may be recorded, maybe even in the attacking half, an electronic analysis can take that same pass and quickly record it as a successful short pass from the outside of the foot in the centre attacking portion of the field from player X to player Z. So much more details being collected about the same skill than would have been with manual analysis, and often in not much more time because it's just clicks. And in that way it means that they don't miss successive passages of play, so perhaps a busy 30 seconds or something in the attacking half, they'll be able to record all the necessary data. This type of analysis does have its disadvantages, however, the main one being the cost. Dartfish 7, for example, costs £600 to install just on one device. So if you imagine you have a team like a professional team with 3 or 4 different analysts, one for each type of player, you're looking at thousands of pounds just to set up the equipment before you've even trained anybody or used it. That often makes it inaccessible to a small local team or an individual. This type of analysis software also requires the analyst to be trained in its proper use, meaning more time and potentially more expense. So although anybody might be able to have a go at it and collect reasonably reliable data, for somebody to really use it properly, they're going to need training and practice, which obviously can't be done in a few moments before a game. Okay, so for the Women's Hockey League final that I analysed, I used a number of different basic skills as the performance criteria, including moving with the ball, changing direction with the ball, short passes, long passes, flick shots, drive shots, slap shots, moving and static interceptions, tackles, and a few others, but they were categorised into 4 main categories. Shot, which I defined this skill as any attempt made at a goal, whether successful or unsuccessful. A pass, which is any intentional transition of the ball from one player to another by any legal means or technique, whether successful or unsuccessful. Interception was any occurrence whereby possession of the ball was stolen from the Australian team in order whilst not in the possession of a particular player, i.e. during a pass, whether successful or unsuccessful. Ball control, any movement whilst in possession of the ball not included in the above categories, whether successful or unsuccessful. These skills were then recorded as either successful or unsuccessful by type and by pitch area. So for example, I would have, rather than just a pass, it would be a short pass, successful in the centre defensive area, and that was how it was recorded. In this way it was possible to see not only the number of times a specific skill was performed, but also its success rate, as well as which type of player was most successful, i.e. attacker, defender, midfielder. Okay, so moving on to graphs in order to analyse the data collected. This first one's quite bare, shots made by area. We can see there were only 2 shots in total made during the game, one in the centre attack area and one in the right attacking area. Neither were successful, but we have 1 flick shot and 1 driving shot. Passes by area, this is quite an interesting one. Lots of different passes made there. We can see that most of the passes were made in the defensive areas, which I'll come on to in the strengths and weaknesses section. Not a lot made in the attacking areas at all, passes, and we can see as well the majority of the passes made were short passes, as opposed to reverse or long passes. Interceptions by area, we can see that 30 interceptions were made in total, 19 of which were moving interceptions, so that's potentially showing a strength there. Interesting on this one, which I'll go on to later, is the pitch areas that these interceptions were performed, but yeah, I'll go on to that in the next few slides. Analysis of ball control by area. So we can see obviously types of ball control. Changing direction with the ball was the most common in this category, with 31 occurrences, and also very interesting again to see the areas in which this was performed, mostly in the midfielder areas for that skill. Okay, so my feedback and suggested areas for improvement for the English team. So from this sample data we can immediately see some of the areas of strength as well as some of the areas which could benefit from improvement. Firstly, the strengths. The third graph shows a high percentage of interceptions were made in the central defensive area. If I pop back to that graph, you can see that there. This is a crucial area for interceptions, as it's the most dangerous area for the opposing team to make shots at goal. Obviously, the English central defensive area is the Australian central attacking area. So the high number of interceptions in this area shows the English team does have the ability to gain possession back when it matters most and in the dangerous area. So that's a strength there from this data. Also, 45 of the 81 passes made were short passes. That's over half, and shows that it is a skill performed well by the English team. When you look at the areas in which these short passes were played, though, there is the potential for improvement, which I've talked about in the right-hand column. So, areas for improvement from that previous point. 45 of the short passes made, 26 were in the crucial right defence, central defence and left defence areas. With further analysis, this could potentially suggest a longer clearing pass may be used following an interception in order to gain territory and decrease the possibility of losing possession in crucial game areas. So what I mean by that is where a high percentage of short passes have been made in the English defensive area, not gaining a lot of ground, potentially in place of those short passes in those areas, a long clearing pass may be utilised more effectively in order to clear the ball away from the crucial area and minimise the chances of the Australian team regaining possession and converting that into points. Also, in the areas for improvement, I've put in contrast to the high number of passes in the defensive areas, only 4 were made in the 3 attacking areas. So if you put that in partnership with the relatively low ball control statistics, this could suggest the reason for so few shot attempts. So not very many passes being made in the attacking areas, maybe a couple too many people going it alone, maybe game awareness is something highlighted here, knowing where your supporting players are and being able to utilise them with the short passes in those areas. So perhaps more passing in the attacking areas would compensate for the unsuccessful ball control and enable more goal attempts, therefore increasing the potential for points on the board. Lastly, 12 out of 30 of the interceptions made were on the left half of the pitch. This shows that interceptions are a strength from players on that side compared to only 7 on the right. This highlights a potential area for improvement for the right-hand players. So yeah, looking at the interceptions, we can obviously, most of them are made by players on the left of the pitch as opposed to on the right. So that suggests a potential improvement for the right-hand players, something for the coaches to look for in the training sessions. Thanks for listening.